Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, July 2nd, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-kyan. Before we begin, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea reported a whopping 826 new COVID-19 cases Friday, the highest daily tally in nearly 6 months. This comes amid continuing cluster infections across the capital area. South Korea's consumer prices in June grew more than 2% on year, rising for the third straight month on higher prices of farm and oil products. And the United States has named North Korea as one of the worst human trafficking nations for the 19th consecutive year. Other countries include Afghanistan, Myanmar, China, Iran, and Russia. We begin with the COVID-19 situation in South Korea. The nation reported 826 new COVID-19 cases Friday, the highest daily tally in nearly 6 months. Of them, all but 61 were locally transmitted, and 3 more patients have died, raising the death toll to 2,024. There are concerns that the daily tally could rise further, especially as social distancing measures have been eased outside the capital and as cluster infections continue across the nation. Meanwhile, as of this morning, more than 5 million people, or 10% of the nation's population, have been fully vaccinated. Following a case in South Korea in which an AstraZeneca shot was blamed for the death of a man in his 30s, authorities now recommend that only those over 50 get shots made by the UK drug maker. And with nearly 30% of the population inoculated with at least 1 dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, officials unveiled their vaccination plans for July. Cho Won-jong reports.
South Korea's health authorities have raised the age limit for the AstraZeneca vaccine recipients. Due to concerns over rare blood clots, the authorities had limited the vaccine to people over 30. But starting in July, only those over the age of 50 can get the AstraZeneca vaccine. Starting next Monday, the under 50s who need a second dose of AstraZeneca will now get the Pfizer vaccine instead. South Korea's health authorities have also announced Thursday their COVID-19 vaccination schedule for July, including people in their 50s. They're getting vaccinated in July, but will be receiving the Moderna vaccine either at local hospitals or vaccination centers. Starting July 12, more than 3.5 million people aged between 55 and 59 can book their vaccines online and will be getting the shots from July 26th. Those aged 50 to 54 can make reservations from July 19th to 24th, and their inoculations will kick off in early August. The July vaccination plan is also for those who are not able to receive the vaccine on time during the first half of the year. Unvaccinated people over the age of 60 will receive the Pfizer vaccine at the nation's vaccination centers from July 5th to 17th. Along with those aged between 60 and 74, essential public workers under 30, such as police officers and firefighters, will get the Pfizer vaccine from July 5th to 17th. And those over 60 who had to postpone their shots due to health issues will get the Moderna vaccine at local hospitals from July 26th to 31st. High school seniors and teachers based on pre-reservation booked through schools will be getting the Pfizer vaccine from July 19th to 30th. And nearly 150,000 students who are getting ready for college entrance exams will be vaccinated next month. And teachers from kindergartens to middle schools will get the Pfizer vaccine, starting July 28th. In order to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the military, more than 70,000 soon-to-be enlisted soldiers between July and September will be getting the Pfizer vaccine before they head to boot camp. Their inoculations begin on July 12. Meanwhile, based on the COVID-19 situation, local governments will be able to decide who to vaccinate first if they deem one particular group as being a priority. Cho Won-jong, Arirang News.
South Korea has introduced incentives for vaccinated people. Anyone who has had at least 1 COVID-19 shot need not wear face masks outside other than in crowded areas. On the first day, people were excited, but others are still unsure about what happens next. Lee Kyung-won reports.
The vaccination incentives still take effect starting this month, despite the extension of the current distancing scheme. Anyone who received at least 1 dose of the vaccine can take off their masks outside, but only from 14 days after getting their first shot when antibodies are established. So you can be maskless at a park or when hiking. But even at such places, when there are many people around, you will need to keep your mask on. Masks are also required at crowded areas like amusement parks, sports stadiums, and festivals. Basically, whenever it is hard to keep the 2-meter distance outside, you need to keep your mask on. This was not mentioned in the initial incentive measures, but the government added this rule on Wednesday amid concerns over a spike in transmissions.
When the basic rule of keeping a 2-meter distance is not possible, masks should be kept on, even outside.
Among the first to practice this measure are senior citizens over the age of 60 and those who received the one-shot Janssen vaccines. Some are making the most out of the chance, while others still remain cautious.
It feels so fresh being out here without a mask on.
I might keep it on because otherwise it could make others feel insecure. I'm also concerned about the Delta variant.
But all are perhaps happy about one thing, being able to gather with more people. Anyone who received at least one dose won't have to follow the private gathering rules when outside.
All 7 of us weren't able to get together for a while. It feels really great to see each other finally.
For those fully vaccinated, the rule applies at indoor settings too. Slowly, the country takes another step back to normal. 이경은, Arirang News.
South Korea's health authorities expressed concerns that easing prevention measures in the capital area may lead to an even larger outbreak. Now, this comes a day after the region decided to postpone implementing relaxed distancing scheme for a week. Our Han Sung-woo went out to Yeonnam-dong, one of Seoul's busiest commercial districts, to hear directly from the people.
With the Delta variant now a major concern, Commissioner of South Korea's Disease Control and Prevention Agency, Chung Eun-kyung, warns that easing prevention measures in Seoul and the surrounding area could result in an explosion of more infections. Her words fall in line with the capital area's recent decision to postpone implementing a new and revised social distancing scheme for 1 week. A scheme that would have allowed people to hold larger private gatherings, dine out until midnight, and even go clubbing starting July 1st.
It was the right thing to do. We've persevered until now, so I believe we can endure this for a bit longer.
Quite a few were frustrated over the delay, though, many longing for the pre-pandemic days.
I agree with social distancing, but I'm doubtful over whether this really has an effect on preventing the spread of the virus.
As for small business owners, the reversal brings an extra week of financial struggles. Complicated by concerns that 1 week might become 2, then 4, and before you know it, months. Less foot traffic and limited hours simply translate to lower sales and less income.
I've given up now, really. Like I said, I think it's going to be extended again. It's beyond disappointment. I've simply given up.
Just when authorities thought infections would drop with millions of older adults now vaccinated, cases rose once again. Seoul alone reported some 370 new cases of COVID-19 on Wednesday, its most this year, leading to fears of a looming resurgence. If it gets worse, officials may push the social distancing level up to level 3. As a precaution, the Greater Seoul area is cracking down on businesses violating prevention measures through on-site inspections over the next 2 weeks. Han Sung-woo, Arirang News.
The WHO is warning that a new wave of COVID-19 could soon hit Europe. This comes as the UK and Israel, 2 of the world's most heavily vaccinated countries, are seeing a rapid rise in cases. Lee Seung-jae has a story.
A new wave could soon slam Europe. This, according to the WHO on Thursday, which said the decline in the number of COVID-19 infections in the region has now come to an end. The WHO's regional director for Europe, Hans Kluge, said a 10-week decline in the number of cases in the 53 countries in the WHO European region has been replaced by an upward spike of 10%. Cluj says the rise is due to mixing, travel, gatherings, and an easing of social restrictions. However, he also noted that it comes against the backdrop of a rapidly evolving situation with the Delta variant. According to Cluj, the variant would be dominant in Europe by August, and vaccinations will not have caught up. With millions still unvaccinated in the region, he stressed the importance of getting fully vaccinated, reiterating that data shows vaccines provide protection even against the Delta variant. The UK confirmed 27,989 new COVID-19 cases over the past 24 hours, marking the country's highest daily figure since January 29th. It brings the total caseload in the past 7 days to 146,360, a 71.8% rise on week. Despite that, the UK is still scheduled to lift its lockdown by July 19th after vaccinating the majority of its population. Israel is also seeing a spike, reporting another 307 new cases on Wednesday, the highest figure since April. The rise is being blamed on the Delta variant, with the health ministry expecting the daily figures to rise to 500 to 600 by next week. Officials say they may bring back the purple badge system, which sets requirements on businesses to allow them to operate. The country could also halt flights in and out of Israel. 이승재, Arirang News.
The EU has rolled out its vaccine passports to make it easier for people to travel around the region. This digital certificate, which went into effect on July 1st, exempts the cardholder from travel or quarantine restrictions. Using a QR code issued by their country of residence, certificate holders can prove that they have been either fully vaccinated, recently tested negative for the virus, or have immunity after a recent recovery. According to the European Commission, all member states should now be in a position to issue and accept the pass, except for Ireland, where implementation has been delayed by cyber attacks. Consumer prices in South Korea jumped by 2.4% on-year in June, rising more than 2% for the third straight month. According to data released by Statistics Korea Friday, consumer prices for living necessities went up by 3% and fresh food by over 10%. The prices of agricultural goods spiked, with garlic up by over 48% and rice by more than 13%. Bird flu pushed up price of eggs by nearly 55%. The spike comes despite the government's importing 20 million eggs last month. The price of gasoline also increased by close to 20% due to a rise in the price of crude oil. Hyundai Motor and Kia Motors posted record high sales in the U.S. in the first 6 months of this year. Hyundai Motor America says it sold more than 400,000 Hyundai vehicles, up almost 50% on year. Sales in June also jumped nearly 45%, marking the highest June sales in Hyundai's history and a fourth consecutive monthly record. The automaker said it's managing huge demand by working closely with its manufacturing and supply chain partners. Kia America sold 378,000 units in the first half, an almost 44% increase on year. The OECD says 130 countries have agreed on a global tax reform scheme that calls for multinational companies to be taxed at least 15%. It forecasts that the new scheme, aimed at firms like Google, Amazon, and Facebook, will bring in an extra $150 billion in tax revenue a year. The OECD says the framework updates key elements of a century-old international tax system. The deal comes after an endorsement last month from the G7. The Biden administration has designated a number of countries as not doing enough to combat human trafficking, with North Korea again named as one of the worst offenders anywhere in the world. Kim Hyo-san tells us the details.
The United States has named North Korea as one of the worst human trafficking nations for the 19th consecutive year. In its annual Trafficking in Persons report Thursday, the U.S. State Department said Pyongyang was designated as one of the 11 governments with a policy or pattern of human trafficking.
We document 11 countries where the government itself is the trafficker. For example, through forced labor on public work projects, or in sectors of the economy that the government feels are particularly important.
The 11 governments also include those of Afghanistan, Myanmar, China, Iran, and Russia. The North ranked among the lowest Tier 3, with the report saying the regime does not meet the minimum standards for eradicating trafficking. North Korea has been in the same spot for 19 years in a row since the U.S. first began publishing the report. It also noted how women and children in North Korea are often exploited in sex trafficking, with the regime making no attempt to resolve such issues. The report included China in Tier 3 for the 5th consecutive year, along with countries like Iran and Russia. Kim Hye-sun, Arirang News.
The UN's World Meteorological Organization has confirmed that a new record high temperature of 18.3 degrees Celsius was observed on the Antarctic continent last year. The global body says the record heat was confirmed in February 2020, saying the measurement indicates a 0.8 degree jump during the past 5 years. It added that the Antarctic Peninsula is among the fastest warming regions of the planet. The organization also warned that such new temperature records are in line with other signs of climate change that the world has been witnessing.
Welcome. It's time for The World Now, bringing you some of the most interesting news from around the globe. I'm Ji-young. Remembering the Holocaust has long been a national effort in Germany. And now German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has laid a wreath at Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Museum in Jerusalem. The German and Israeli presidents on Thursday visited the museum together to commemorate victims of the Nazis. In the Holocaust, Nazi Germany and its collaborators murdered some 6 million European Jews and carried out other atrocities. The German president said the country will remember the unspeakable suffering that was caused in Germany's name.
We will keep the memory of this alive for the sake of those who were murdered and for the sake of future generations. It is in light of Germany's responsibility for the Shoah that we solemnly promise never again.
Continuous apologies have been made by Germany's post-war leaders while paying Jewish victims hundreds of millions of dollars in reparations. The German President's office said the visit to the museum is aimed at underlying close and unique relations with Israel. It might be a good idea to keep your pet away if you suspect you have the COVID-19 virus, because according to a Dutch study, 20% of pets in infected households caught the disease from their owners.
So about 1 out of 5 pets will catch the disease from their owners, because the most likely transmission is from human to pet. So this is a rather high prevalence, but on the other hand, luckily the animals do not get very ill from it.
She added that it could be because of the close contact people have with their pets. The study tested 156 dogs and 154 cats from 196 households with the owners known to have been infected with the COVID-19 virus. No cases of transmission from pet to human or from animal to animal have been detected. It's science fiction turned into reality, because what looks like a sports car is in the sky flying. It's called Air Car, and it's completing its 35-minute intercity test flight in Slovakia. It's still in the prototype stage, but developers say that this week's treat is an important milestone toward mainstream production.
It's great that the legislation allowed something like this to go from a virtual location to the real one. This is our goal, to create a real product that you will be able to buy one day.
After landing, the wings and tail fold in less than 3 minutes with the click of a button to become a car. Although it's uncertain when it'll become available on the open market, the developers plan to build a pre-production model with the road permit as the next step.
Good morning. The season's first heat wave advisory was issued yesterday in parts of Seoul, and western parts of the country will have more intense heat today. In fact, it's going to be hot and humid with 5 to 40 millimeters of passing rain in the forecast for central regions and Jeollado provinces through the evening. So please keep an umbrella handy. Gwangju is forecast to have stormy conditions throughout the afternoon, while eastern parts of the country will be under mostly to partly cloudy skies. Daegu and Chuncheon will be getting up to 30 degrees Celsius. A belated monsoon season starts tomorrow, and usually southern regions get the monsoon rains first. But this year's monsoon season will begin on the same day nationwide. And it's going to rain on Jeju early Saturday before spreading nationwide. And please do brace for heavy showers through early Sunday with 30 to 100 millimeters of rain in the forecast. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.